Hey Power Appers, this is Brian Knight from Pragmatic Works, and in today's video, we're going to show you the top 5 things that you're really going to want to do in your Power Platform environment to make sure that it has proper governance and administration. So stay tuned. Hey, so welcome back. Imagine you just inherited this environment for Power Platform, and you're concerned that before you release the hounds and allow everybody to start using it for power automation and power apps and power pages and all those types of products, you want to really make sure that this environment is honed down and ready to go. So in this video, we're going to show you the top 5 things that you really want to do in this brand new environment or an older environment to make sure you have proper governance and administration of that environment. So there's of course more than 5 things you want to do. We have more of these things in our Admin a Day class at Pragmatic Works, but let's focus on the hot issues that you're really going to do. First of all, I'm going to go to make.powerapps.com or make.powerautomate.com. Once I'm there, I'll go to the gearbox up top and go to the Admin Center. This Admin Center is a core area for you as an administrator of the environment. A few things to note. What you can see here and what you can do in this is going to be contextual based on how much rights you have. For some of the things we're going to talk about first here, you're going to want to either be a global admin, a Power Platform admin, or potentially a Dynamics admin. So one of those 3 roles at a minimum you're going to want to have. So that said, some of the things we're doing today won't require elevated rights. So let's look at the first thing. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that other people in your environment cannot create environments that don't have that higher level rights. So there's a setting you'll see here on the left side in the Admin Center. You'll see settings. Okay. Once you're here, by default, anyone in your organization can create an environment, can use your allocated resources for things that you may not want them to use. Like somebody may have bought this add-on to use for their environment, and anyone in your tenant can use those resources once purchased. Not only that, but an environment in Power Platform, you'll see environments right here. Environments are used as almost like a server inside the Power Platform ecosystem. And by default, anybody can create one of these. Anytime somebody creates one of these, it costs your organization 1 gig of Dataverse space. You can find out how much space you have in Dataverse over here under Resources and Capacity. So we want to make sure that we prevent people that are not administrators from creating these. As a best practice, you want to have 1 dev, QA, and prod environment for a small to medium-sized organization. For a large organization, you might have a dev, QA, and prod environment per major group or per major continent that you want to kind of move those resources closer to where the people are at. But how do we stop people from actually creating these environments? My rule of thumb is I let people create trial environments all they want. These trial environments do not cost anything. They don't eat up any of your space here. You don't eat 1 gig of space. And the developer environment's the same thing. The developer environments do not eat up a gig of space either. So to solve this problem, we'll go over to Settings on the left side, and we'll click on a few things. Production environment assignments. We'll make sure that only specific admins can do this. Now, by default, this will be set to everyone. So if you're a school, for example, anybody that has an AD account that happens to have Office 365 can create their own environments. This typically means any student, any teacher, and any staff member. So by making it where only specific admins can create an environment, you're restricting that to those 3 roles I mentioned before: Power Platform admin, Global admin, and Dynamics admin. Additionally, you'll see trial environments. I typically let that be for everyone because it does not cost us anything, and those environments clean up after 30 days. The last one you'll see is add-on capacity. For add-on capacity, you want to make sure that only admins can do that as well. What is add-on capacity? Well, we can go over to Resources and Capacity, and we can see at the bottom, here are my add-ons, and when I manage it, you'll see what types of things the add-ons are for. They're for like your licenses, things like your Power Pages stuff, your AI builder, all these types of things, anyone in your organization, once purchased, can snag that stuff up. So that's the first thing you want to go ahead and change, is make sure that only certain people can create production environments, sandbox environments, and can only use those app capacities. That's the first thing. Number 2 is we want to make sure that, that we state the purpose of a given environment. When I go to environments here, you'll see I have a list of all these environments. What you're likely seeing, if you have security rights to see this, that is, you only see the environments that you have access to, that you're an admin of, is I typically will create my default environment, which right now for you would be called something like company name and in parentheses default, or you might see the word upgrade. One of those two things. What you typically want to do as your homework, and I misspelled upgrade, sorry about that, I would rename it to either like personal productivity. Productivity. And the reason why we do this, it states the purpose of that default environment. The default environment is where everybody gets directed to at first at your organization. And you typically are going to want that to be, anybody can create an app in that environment. So you're going to want to state the purpose of that environment. The purpose of that default environment is not about enterprise applications or even really important applications. The purpose of that environment is for you to create an app for you and maybe a few teammates. For small applications, like a PTO request form for just your team maybe. So you want to limit what can be done in that environment, and you also want to rename that environment to state the purpose of the environment. If you don't do this, people will start creating every type of app in that environment, and then that will not have proper ALM, application lifecycle management, where you promote the app from dev to QA to prod. So what most organizations do is they rename the environment to personal productivity, and then they state this is the purpose of this environment for personal productivity, and IT is not going to support that environment or your apps in that environment. IT supports dev, QA, and prod. So going back here again, I'll pick just a random environment here, like I'll pick my brother's environment. Let's see here. Now I've already renamed mine, so I'll just look at this November events environment, for example. This is a trial environment right now. But if I hit this edit button, once I clicked on the environment, I hit edit, and I can rename it right here. And you can also do an organization. I do a little emoji there just so we can kind of find it a little bit easier. In case you're curious, the emoji can be found by hitting the Windows key dot, and it gives you a little emoji thing like that you can put in your environment names. So once you do this, it takes about 30 seconds for that environment to rename. What is that going to break? Well, the people will just see a new name. It will not break any, the environment still has the same GUID that is in the link, so you're good there. If you're using model-driven apps, you can also rename this URL right here. Something like, November events, I can't see my mouse is on it. Events, PW maybe, something like that. And when I do that, it'll be November events pw.crm.microsoft.com. And when I hit save, you'll notice it will go ahead and it will check to make sure that record is available. And then about 30 seconds later, I'll have the new URL name. Okay, so that's the second thing to rename. Make sure you rename your default or your upgrade environment to something that's a little more meaningful, like personal productivity or your company name, personal productivity. One of those two names are generally a good advisement. All right, and I also typically would rename that URL you saw right here as well. The other thing to note while I'm in the edit screen is, other than the default environment, you may want to add a security group to this to limit the number of users that can get into that be listed in your environment when you go to administer this as well. All right, so that cannot be done for the default environment though. Everyone can do what they want in the default environment. The third most important thing to change is going to be data loss prevention, or DLP. We want to make sure that people can do what they want to in that default environment, but we also want to make sure that we put fences around them to where they can only do things within a certain kind of metric. In other words, I don't want people building enterprise apps in my default environment, because that implies that there's no migration from dev to QA to prod, there's no management, it's wild, wild west in other words. So rather than herd those cats, what I typically do is I'll create a DLP policy that stretches the entire tenant except for the environments that IT wants to manage. Let me show you what that looks like. So first of all, for DLP, you'll find it on the left side under Resources, and then you'll see Policies right here. Underneath Policies, you'll see we have Data Policies. Again, this is in the Admin Center. Once you go to here, what we're going to see here is creating a new policy. I went ahead and deleted my old one. I'll give it whatever bogus name I want. What I typically do is I'll block everything that I can in every environment but my dev, QA, and prod environment. So I'll do a select all here. Sorry, not do a select all. I'll first of all find out what is blockable. So find out what is blockable, hit the little ... and then I will then block right here. I'll clear my filters. We can see 885 connectors have now been blocked and 24 have not been blocked. We can also go through and you can find out that you can, I have a whole video on this, but you can also go through and decide what types of operations they can do with this connector and what servers they're allowed to connect to with this connector also. Okay, so that's the first piece to do. Additionally, you want to hit Set Default Group to make sure that anything new that's added by Microsoft is blocked by default. Okay, so that's the first piece. So you'll see that what the users in your DLP environments can do now is they can do personal productivity stuff. Things like connecting to SharePoint or things like connecting to Office and Power BI and all those types of things. Then I'll hit Next. I'm going to bypass the custom connectors. We don't really have any of those. And I'm going to say exclude certain environments. So what I would do now is I would look at my dev, QA, and prod environment, just for example here. And then once I have that, I'll hit Add to Policy, and it excludes those from my policy. Lastly, hit Next, and then Finish, and every environment but those 4 are going to have a restrictive policy on it. And then if somebody wants to have an environment that's less restrictive, they're going to make an application to IT, and then we'll add them to the exclusion policy at that point also. So that's the number 3 thing to do inside. The next thing that you may want to consider doing, let me go back here, is I mentioned before, you'll notice a few things when I go to my environments. Let me go back here again. You'll notice that when I select an environment, that in my case, I did not have a security group defined by mine. So when I hit Edit here, you'll see that there's a security group that can be defined here. So if I were to add like trainers, for example, I think that's a group, there we go, and hit Done. Only the trainers people will be able to see, or be able to add it to this group. So next, when I go over to users now, you're going to notice I have a lot of users in here. These are all the people that we're seeing here. And because of that, that's because I have not put a security group on there. So when you're creating a new environment, you typically want to create that security group of people that you think are going to need to have access. Then when you add a new user, you first add them to the group and then add them here. That way you're not having to manage and see all this stuff here as I go through all this. Okay? So that's number 4. And the last thing, number 5th thing that you may want to do when you start a new Power Apps environment is you want to go to the gearbox. Oh, let me actually leave this real quick. Let me go back to Power Apps. All right, I'm at make.powerapps.com. I'll go to my advanced settings. And then what I'm going to show you here is how do we turn on certain types of theming for my applications in that environment. These will be from all different apps, and that is converging. But if I hit the down arrow right here, and hit the down arrow here again, you'll see customizations. Once I'm in customizations, you'll see themes. Now notice I have this black theme right here. What I typically do is I'll pick a theme that's closest to mine. I'll edit it. I'll give it a new name. So you'll hit clone here to give it a new name, or to kind of create your own version of it. I'll call Brian Was Here. Awesome. And give it whatever kind of color scheme that you want. You have your navigation bar, which is this guy right here. You've got your icons here. This is for the accent color used in things like your progress bars up top, your process flows up top, excuse me. And you can also change your logo and those kind of things. So create the proper branding at this point, and once you do the proper branding, hit the Publish Theme icon. You can also test drive it by hitting the Preview button, and you'll notice that your theme now changes. I did not change my logo and all, but you would change your logo right here, hit the little magnifying glass, go to the bottom here, and you'll see New, and upload your new logo there. Okay, so that's the fifth thing that you may want to change. Other little things that were things that you may want to, you definitely want to do is you want to encourage all your users to use solutions inside of a Power Platform, not just create applications. In other words, when I create a new app, the temptation is to hit new apps right here. Instead, you may want to go to solutions and start with this. This is going to do two things for you. It's going to help with portability of your applications, and it's also going to turn on features. So it helps you as an IT admin, and it also helps you as to migrate the apps, and it also helps your developers as well. So you want to have them encouraged to use solutions. And then one last thing, if I select an environment of my choice here, I'll just pick, let me find one here. All right, I'll just go to this one right here. You'll notice that when I go to this environment and I hit Settings, under Product and Features, you may want to peruse this and make sure that there's certain features that you may want to turn on in your production environments. So things like mapping and address certification services, when you flip this to true, they just have you acknowledge a agreement from TomTom. So I generally turn that on. I'll turn on things like co-authoring and collaboration and those kind of things as well. But you can kind of look in here and turn on certain things. There's this screen may look completely different from you if you're watching us 6 months from now, but they always start with those preview features in this panel right here at first, and then they'll eventually be ported into main features there. All right, so we showed you 5 things that you want to make sure you do inside of Power Apps. Again, this is part of our Power Platform admin class that we do. You can find that at pragmaticworks.com, where we kind of configure your environment with you and teach you how to build the perfect environment. It's a full day kind of private class. Now, again, those 5 things. Make sure that anybody can't create an environment. Make sure you rename your default environment, turning on DLP, data loss prevention, adding the AD account for certain environments other than your default, and then lastly, turning on your theme colors. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and thank you so much for watching us. And please visit us at pragmaticworks.com, and please do subscribe also if you want to get more videos like this. Have a great day.